Hey everybody, it's Herb with New Yorker in Knoxville. Thanks for joining me today. So, I just thought that I would take a moment to update you on the next step with our garden in the backyard. If you watched the previous video, we basically what we did was we talked about how we were trying to make this idiot-proof garden, and we were using a kind of a spin-off of what's known as the Three Sisters method. And just to recap on that, the Three Sisters method is about growing a basically a tall stalk plant like corn, or in our case, we're using the sunchoke or Jerusalem artichoke. That is what provides the trellis. And then beans, which feed nitrogen into the soil, they grow up that trellis. And then you have some sort of squash, in which case we're going to be using what's called a shark fin melon or a fig leaf squash. And that provides ground cover for the soil, keeps the soil moist, and provides some protection for the garden. So the sunchokes are already in the ground. In fact, they are preserved best in the ground. You can actually leave them all winter long, and you can dig them out as you need them, and then they come back every spring as perennial. Okay, so but because we're still a week, probably a week to 2 weeks before our last frost date, I held up on planting the runner beans that we're going to be using. They're called Scarlet runner beans, or that shark fin melon, because I want to make sure that we don't get a freeze that wipes them out. So what I'm going to do to give them a little bit of a head start is get them planted. I picked up these in Walmart, and they're pretty neat. I've seen this concept before, but I've never tried it myself. Basically, it's a biodegradable pot that allows you to start your seeds, but at the same time, you don't have to transfer them out of anything. So you're mitigating the risk of having any sort of shock to the plant when you're moving it into the garden. So this is designed to basically break down. You can put the whole pot in the ground when you're ready to plant it in your garden, and the moisture and the as it interacts with this material will basically allow the plant to just keep growing through the pot. All right. Now, there's actually alternative ways you could accomplish this. I've seen people use like the little cake cone, little ice cream cones, because they basically break down very quickly out in the elements. And I think I've seen people use like the toilet paper rolls, where it's just that cardboard roll, and basically the cardboard just breaks down from the moisture. So this is a similar concept. It's just kind of maybe a little bit more design specific to this purpose. I picked these up at Walmart. I think they were like $3 and change, and there's 12 pots in each one of these. And ideally, we want to get to the point where we're making our own compost and soil, but because we're kind of in a temporary location, and I'm doing more time working than actually outside getting everything prepared, I just picked up some seed starting mix to keep things simple, right? So what I did want to show you was the seeds that I'm going to be getting started. So this first one is called a Scarlet runner bean, and this is a perennial bean. It comes from South America. Historically, Thomas Jefferson was reported to have grown these, but not for the beans, just for the flowers. It's actually a very pretty plant. It's a vining plant that makes these nice, beautiful flowers. And hummingbirds actually love the flowers on this. So from what I understand, hummingbirds need to constantly feed, or they die within like minutes of not feeding. So you're actually supporting any hummingbirds in your area if you grow these. So that pretty neat information surrounding this. But it's a big bean, makes big bean pods. You can, when the beans are still immature, you can use them like sugar snap peas, from what I understand. And then when they get bigger, you can harvest them and take the beans out and dry them out. Use them like any other type of kidney bean or anything like that. And or you can let them dry out and store and plant them the following year to have way more beans, which is what we're going to be trying to do with this first batch. The next thing I'm going to show you, this is the seed from the fig leaf gourd or the shark fin melon. So it is a black seed. It's the only squash seed I've ever seen that's black. It's bigger than a watermelon seed. But this is going to be that third component for our Three Sisters garden. And so that's what we're going to be getting started today. And then just one bonus plant that I didn't mention in the last video, I have seeds from what's known as a walking stick kale. So, or they're also referred to as a Jersey kale or Jersey cabbage. And I picked these out because I'm not a huge like leafy green person. I don't eat a lot of salads, mostly because the type of salad dressings I like are loaded with processed vegetable oil. So it doesn't really benefit me from a health purpose when I go to that. But I do like brassicas because they have a lot of cooking usage. And so I wanted to find a very productive kale, a perennial kale, because I like to grow perennials, and something that is hardy down and past Zone 7B, which is the agricultural zone we're in Tennessee. So walking stick kale are really cool because they originated in the Jersey Isle, and they used to grow them the early 20th century. They were very common. And basically these things, from what I understand, grow up and over 10 feet. And as you pick the leaves up, it almost creates like a palm tree effect. And they grow these long trunks. And they would dry out these trunks to use for things like walking sticks and fence posts and things of that nature. So it's just a big kale plant, basically. But I figured it'd be pretty cool to grow some of these. Their seeds are very tiny. They come from seed pods that come out when the plant bolts, and they make gigantic cabbagey kale type leaves, from what I understand. So this will be my first year growing all three of the seeds that I've just showed you in the video. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is just going to take this out. And I'm going to scoop out some soil. Which is already a little bit moist. Okay, and then, oh, I got two pots here. Well, I'm just going to show you the basic principle. I'll separate that later. But these beans, they can be planted probably fairly deeply down there, I would say. You usually want this, I believe you want this white part showing up, because that's where the bean splits open and the plant takes off. So I would say probably get it in there about a ½ inch to an inch. Okay. And there we go. Ooh, made a little bit of a mess there. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay. And I believe you want this pointy part poking up when you plant these. I mean, I think they find their way out of the soil either way. Generally, the bigger the seed, the more hardy that germination process is. Okay, so we're going to do that. I'm going to have some beans, some shark fin melon pots, and then these, well, we're going to bury much shallower. This only says about a 1/4 inch, so we're going to do the same thing with these as well. I'm going to keep them in the sun when it's daytime. I'm still going to take them in at night just to keep them warm, keep them safe from the elements. Going to put a little water in each pot every day. And then by the time that frost date passes, ideally, if this works, I won't have to do anything with these pots. I could just pop them right in a hole in the ground next to where the sunchokes will be growing, because again, we want the beans to be close to those sunchokes so that as the sunchokes grow, these can climb up those stalks. And then the shark fin melon, I'll kind of have more spaced out in between the clusters of sunchoke with bean, and that give them a little space to spread out and cover the ground. So I hope you found this video interesting. Please remember, subscribe, likes are always appreciated. Comment if you have any questions or ideas, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.